be kind of out of context for you if you didn't have the first camps, right? But we will have a basic camp coming up again in November, the weekend before Thanksgiving. We'll be talking about that more after this camp. And if you're interested in a basic camp before then, we do have a lot of friends that do the camps. And so be more than happy to tell you about some of those. Some of those are near, some of those are far. So if you'd like to take a road trip, we have some good friends up in Ohio, some friends in Indiana, some friends in other parts of North Carolina, Virginia, to kind of do these camps. And we'd love to add you to those and let you know about those. But you could find out from us if you go to your email, and you can email any of us. If you really want to talk to Harold, just put in harold@masculinejourney.org and he'll get back to you, right? If you put in Robbie, he'll eventually get back to you. But no, we will all get back to you if you need to. And so if you need to reach out to us there, you can reach out to us on social media. We're on most of the social media platforms. We do stream live on Tuesday nights when we're recording the show. We do it on Facebook. We also do it on YouTube. And so if you want to watch us live, I've seen all of this in person. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you might want to do that to see what we look like at least once. But we are doing that. And so we do have some things coming up. And we will have an entrenchment again sometime this year. We just don't have one planned. We're waiting on God to kind of give us the idea of when and where to do that. But we'll do another short weekend entrenchment coming up as soon as we have a partner church that we're going to work with on it. But we kind of let God lead that. But we have about 45 seconds before we go into break. Anything you guys want to add while we're talking about this topic?
Well, I do want to add that, on the Facebook stream and whatever, we now have added the Danny cam.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've had a lot of requests just for people to see Danny.
Yeah.
and so we've added the Danny cam. It's right there on him, so you can constantly, monitor Danny throughout the show.
You're welcome, Michelle.
Yeah. We'd have a Harold cam, but it just keeps shining over his head. We can't really reach him.
One of the things that you'd find an advantage of watching this is you'll find out what a radio face really looks like.
Yeah, we definitely have those. But go to masculinejourney.org to register for the upcoming camp. So we got a minute break, and then we come back for the second half of this show. Anyone feeling like they want to go next? Anyone? Viewer? Andy, how about you?
I'll go.
Okay. We were soldiers.
We do have the Danny cam rolling.
We do.
Yeah.
We'll get to Danny's clip. But we have, the other show too. So.
I put it right under your face. It says Danny cam.
David's watching us because he said you guys could smile. Well, he said I could smile.
That was pretty loud.
Well, especially Danny needs to
He
smile.
was sending
Right.
clips.
It'd be nice if we actually had audio
10.
up.
So, Rodney, that was your bump. Did you sing that? Was that you?
Yes, of course.
Oh, all four parts, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do it. I could throw my voice.
You can?
Yeah.
Could
I
you
just
throw it
reflect
further?
back. you want me to throw it away if I start to sing. But yeah, I was out looking for clips, and I couldn't figure out anything to really do for all these I am statements that we're looking at, because it really, talks about the deity of Christ. And I'm just going through that and trying to figure out, well, what would be a really good praise song? And I found the doxology out there, and I'm like, what if we could find that in men? And they're like, hey, that's under 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I actually looked in the folder, and you didn't have a bump yet.
I didn't.
And I'm like, I don't usually ever beat Sam to a bump. So I was like, well, I'll just throw this one in there. So hard to beat, because all I really wanted to do was praise and glorify God. As I was looking through all the I am statements anyway, I'm like, that would just, I started listening. I was like, I just feel so good.
So now you make me feel bad. I would have probably picked something secular and, whatever. But no, I was very grateful because last night I went in to find a bump and I'm like, Rodney has a bump.
Good.
Yeah.
Glad it helps.
No, it was good, and obviously very familiar with that song. It was sung in my church growing up a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yep. Well, thank you, Andy. You're actually up next. You have the next clip. Which I am statement are you focusing on?
Before we go there,
Well, no, I asked you a question.
Not either, man. I have the mic.
Well, I have one too. I mean, it's like
You gonna override me, man?
I have one too.
I'll take your mic from you.
Yeah.
You have control issues, dude.
I could ask Keith to push yours off.
Like I said. So I figured we would start before the I am, and you put a word after it. You can't go away from what Jesus said whenever he was talking to the Pharisees, and they were talking about Abraham being their father, and Jesus said, before Abraham, he said, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am, which we know Jesus, God the Father said that to Moses and stuff. So really, he is everything to us. But it is cool when we get those defined words like you get in the book of John. I was telling the guys, I've been in the Old Testament, but went on a trip, need to take my smaller Bible with me this weekend or on that trip. And I felt like I was going to read Acts, and then God said, no, it's John. And then Sam sends out an email. And it's all these I am statements from the book of John. I thought, now how cool is that? Because I had already started on it and was through all this, and that's why I remembered to bring that up. But anyway.
Well, a little bit of clarity though. So you didn't want to take all of God with you on the trip, just a part?
Just a part.
Just the New Testament
I
part
used
of
to
God?
have heard it's either the sword or the dagger. I took the dagger with me on this
Okay,
trip.
okay.
So no, I just shoot. I had so much to carry. I had to go with something a little bit smaller. But God's word, I mean, you know, the New Testament, it'll do it. But anyway, mine, I think some of us have touched on just I am the good shepherd, and John 10 has become so real. You know, we know about him, talking about him. The devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but he came to give us abundant life. But beyond that, you know, he's the door, and then he's door for the sheep, and then he's also the good shepherd. And this clip that I picked was from We Were Soldiers. Hal Moore is leading his regiment into battle in Vietnam, and he's got one of his lieutenants who's just had a baby, or his wife had a baby, and you know, those are pressing issues. I mean, he's just like, okay, we're getting ready to go to the battle, and he's not sure, you know, what the right thing to do is when it comes to battle, and which is this the right battle to fight. And you know, you'll hear that in the dialogue, but Hal Moore does such a good job, just like Jesus does. He's just a representation of that as a good leader who kind of guides his heart through that. And really what I think is cool is he just leads him to the Father to get the answer here. But, you know, just we'll talk, I want to speak more a little bit on Jesus shepherding me after we listen to the clip.
Right, there we go.
I mean, you just hear a man there who's known for leading men into battle and being a true warrior, but he's kind and gentle with that young man's heart, and just guides him. I mean, we are warriors, and as a shepherd, think about sheep battling, but as us as men, we talk about that a lot of times about how we are warriors. But there's that whole warrior poet thing that we talk about, and being understanding what you're battling for, and what's at stake. And that was just a good example to me of how that individual kind of was an example of Jesus as being a good shepherd. But as far as God shepherding me, I just think about where he's brought me from, and just some of the things that I need to be shepherded in. And there's times when I used to read that the passage in John 10 and some of the I am statements, that you knew that they were true from a scriptural standpoint, but they weren't necessarily reality. And a lot of it had to do with what I had allowed. I mean, did I really trust him in that way? Did I have that faith? Or had I really given up that component of my life to allow him to shepherd me? You could have a shepherd that the sheep don't follow. And I was a sheep that wasn't followed. In some ways I was, but in a lot of ways I was still going off and doing my own thing. I was, in a sense, one of the 100.
Bad
I was
boy.
a bad boy.
Yeah.
But I mean, he just the way Hal Moore does that. I mean, I truly believe it's the way God comes after us, and finding us where we are, and being understanding. But it was like Jesus was like, let's go to the Father. And
Yeah, one of the things you couldn't, if you haven't seen the movie, you wouldn't understand about the clip. What he was talking about was the young man had a bracelet on
right,
that had his daughter's name on it.
right.
And he was like, "Oh, I'm not in uniform." Is basically what he's telling his boss, and I'm going to have to take this off. He's like, "No, you don't ever take that off."
Exactly.
Because being a good shepherd, you have a greater perspective.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's what I really like about it. He knew what was important to the heart of that man.
Yep. Exactly.
And went after his heart.
Right.
In a way that if he would have said, "Yeah, you got to take that off," he may have lost him altogether.
Yeah.
Right. And so
I heard that, and I didn't really understand the depth of it, but it did when he said that's an order to tell him to do that. He was very direct on that's important to you, and I want you to know it's important to me as well.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Because in that, and that's a real person we're talking about, right? Because that book is based on real stories, and the movie's based on the book, and so there's a good portion of that that's true. But Hal Moore was a father, is a father, right? And so he knew what that meant, and so this is a young man's first child, and he didn't want him to lose sight of what's the most important thing.
Right. Why are you fighting?
Yeah.
And this clip is so relational, right? That it's clear. Why don't we go ask him? You could hear the relationship that he already had with God. Like, oh, well, I know who's going to have the answer, Dad.
Yep.
And let's go ask him. And there's that relationship of the shepherd, to the great shepherd, however you want to put that. And I don't know how many times you've had that experience that somebody asks you to pray or something, and you immediately go, okay, let's do that. And but
no, I meant later. No, let's do it right now.
I mean,
can you pray? I don't really want to pray.
No, that's exactly how they often feel. It's like, no, I wanted you to pray. No, I mean, let's go. Because again, as you share that relationship that you have, which he did so well, it's just an opportunity to do that. I love that always have loved that same thing about the clip. And I also love the heart that, I'm trying to think of his name, the actor. Mel Gibson has for this type of role. I mean, he had it in Braveheart. He had it in The Patriot. He had it here.
Saul Ridge.
Right. It was
he was the director. He was a director.
But in each case, the power, he knew where the power of the scene was.
Right.
And the power in the scene is the gospel.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny. Other than Robbie, who picked something else, most of us picked the shepherd.
Yeah.
I think out of all the I am statements, that's the one we landed on. Robbie's a little different, go figure. But it's just because we didn't talk about which one to pick. We just said, here's some, pick. we landed there, and one of the things I was hoping to find, and I couldn't find it, maybe we'll find it before next week's show, but there was some teaching I'd heard one time about what it really meant to be a shepherd, what it really looked like in their world to be a shepherd.
Yeah.
You know, out under the elements, good and bad.
Oh, it's the the 23rd Psalm from a shepherd's
Yeah,
perspective. Absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, maybe you guys could talk about
And
that.
the
next week.
the purpose of the staff and how it was used to do, pull the sheep back in, and yeah.
Well, Harold, you're from back then. Can you talk about that?
Were you a shepherd before you went into programming?
But, there's a really good book about that. They Smell Like Sheep is the title of it. And it's a really, really
I was wondering about that.
It's a really good book because it talks about how elders are to lead the flock,
Mhm.
and they got to smell like sheep.
Yeah, it was a hard job. There was nothing easy about it. Go to masculinejourney.org to register for the upcoming boot camp. To reach out to us, you can do that in any social media. You can do it via email. If you'd like to know anything about a show topic, you have ideas, you have great clips you'd like to tell us about, please do that. Most importantly, go love somebody well this week. We'll talk with you next week.
Yeah, one of the things they had to do at times was if they had to continue to run off, they'd have to break their legs or whatever, and they'd carry them.
Well, that was a clip we used last week. I don't know if they did that, but yeah, they were talking. So you're Danny, Rodney, and me in the next stuff, and then whoever else talks.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I just.
Dude, you did great.
I'm so tired.
No, I just think we had plenty of time. You did fine.
I'm sure you guys have seen the spots on TV during the ball games for Jesus, He Gets Us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on the U-Bible reading plan, there's a series around that, and there's some
those were those yours?
I don't think so. Sorry.
there's some reading plans about He Gets Us.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really good. I've been, let's see, I'm starting number 3.
Mhm.
So if you got the U-Bible on your phone, that's a good series to do.
So where would you go in Utah?
Mainly Zion.
Danny, you can't
Bryce.
sit back that far.
We, I don't guess.
Come
that's all
on,
we
lean
did
into
was
it, Danny.
Parts. We were gonna go to this town that was around there. We stayed in Orderville, that sits kind of between Bryce and Zion.
I'm gonna sleep over there.
But we got this
I
really
can't
cool
hold the
house.
damn
It wasn't
camera.
cheap. It was four
The
of
guys
us,
want
and, it had all kinds of stuff. We just cooked and stuff there. But, we spent most of our time in Zion, but that was really cool.
Yeah, I wish I would have got a chance to see it. We could just drive
Some-
through because
First time I've ever seen somebody hearted the Danny cam.
Yeah.
So probably Michelle.
I mean, I'd been there before.
You know, somebody heart something that, you know, they did that on Twitter or whatever, but you've been hearted.
Yeah.
Somebody hearted the
Bryce
Danny
was
cam.
Snow on the, those food and stuff. That was really cool. But we didn't do a whole lot of hiking until as the day we came back, and we just drove through it and drove their scenic drive and stuff. It was pretty good.
Anyway, it's our first heart that I've ever seen. So, you know,
Danny cam.
again, Danny's
Rules, man.
a heartthrob. It's obvious.
Yeah, we stay hard.
There you go. Oh, and
It all
you
matters, right?
They are.
It's all
put it on
Was it the
Facebook
same
and we do
cam?
Oh, there's
Facebook
no
Live
same
because
cam.
that would put where people can.
I don't know who hearted, somebody hearted it. All I know, we've never heard a heart before.
I bet $20 harvest.
So this next segment, when we go into after hours, obviously we try to go deeper. So as we share more stories about how God is, if we're doing shepherd, how God shepherded us.
I kind of tried to do it, but
You
it was
did.
more generic than instead of specific. And I threw that out about my Bible reading.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
See, that way you know.
But Joshua was pretty.
Sam pretty good to
too.
you
I
if you
did
go
that.
there.
It
And he
kind of-
likes it.
Because the problem was, I got there, and I couldn't really
Just-
do.
You got to put him on the spot one time.
Oh, I was going to this next show, but I was waiting.
He's got to be sitting there first.
Make him go back over there.
Make him go.
He's a grown man. I can't make him do anything. He can do what he wants to do.
Speaking on me teaching.
Well, Terry, I won't put you on the spot, but you're welcome to join in on the conversation any point you want. So
It's
just
been good. I've enjoyed it.
just jump in. We used to try years and years and years the show,
Mhm.
and God just laughed. And so we go where God takes us, and
That's
you know,
that's the best.
Yeah. And so
That's good stuff.
just let the Holy Spirit lead it.
That's good stuff.
I feel the same way, Andy. I'm
Yeah.
deep, dude.
Hard.
Caleb bought a townhome over in Raleigh, and so I've been over the last 2 weekends working.
Mm.
So I'm working all week,
Yeah.
working all weekend, harder, different working. But I went over this weekend. We were supposed to set the last couple cabinets because he's remodeling, and we're supposed to put in flooring. And so I got over there and I had the tools for that. He got there, he's like, "Oh, do you think we could do demolition? I'd like to tear this closet out, and I'd like to tear this out." And so we ended up doing demolition and framing. You know, a good part of the
Was it
week.
finish him?
A little bit of drywall, yeah, without the right tools to really do it. But we made it work. But it was fun. It was Eli and Caleb and I.
Well, you got 2 linemen. They should have been able to do some demolition.
Well, I just made them do everything heavy and hard. I'm like, I know how to do it. You guys don't. Here, I'll tell you what to do. But it was still a lot. I was laughing at Caleb a little bit. I know we're on the thing so people can hear us, but you know, he's at the age. He's a good kid, but he's at the age where he questions, you know, a lot of things. And I did pretty well until the last day, you know. And I'm like,
This is
Look-
Caleb or Eli?
Caleb,
Okay.
I'm like, look, man, just do it this way. I don't have time to explain it to you. We're running out of time. You know, I don't come in and ask you how you do accounting. Don't ask me how to do construction, man. Just do it. I'll explain it when we're done.
It's faith. Just take it by faith.
Yeah, I said, we'll get it. And he started laughing. He said, all right, fair enough. And so we did it. And I explained it to him when we were done on why we had to do it that way. But everything that we were starting to do, he was like, well, why do we have to do it this way? Can't we do it this way? I'm like, no. Well, why? No, finally, it's like, just do it. Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Bothering.
Yeah, it was bothering all weekend. It was good. It was fun,
Keep you on him.
but it kept me
Right.
tired.
Robbie has that dadgum camera on there.
Yeah, the Yon Cam.
I haven't got an Andy cam. I've got the.
Oh, am I
Danny.
Free
free?
journey yawn cam.
Am I free? Good.
You're not completely free, but you are fairly inexpensive.
Which way do I need to move to not be to be free?
You can hide behind her.
Away from Danny.
Can I hide behind you?
You can try.
Might have a little bit.
Anybody got an air hose they can pump me up?
What's the orange background behind Harold?
We actually have Danny from 2 different angles. So we have Danny on the
There
side.
we go.
We got
Danny
Danny
squared.
from
Oh my goodness.
Danny squared.
Yeah,
You're getting a lot for that $20.
that's a whole lot of Danny.
Might get 2 large for the night now.
We might. We're up to 8 watchers.
Oh my God.
What the heck's going on in our world?
They-
Wow.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for watching. If you're out there.
Both your fans are fully engaged.
Oh, nice.
And that's just on YouTube, right? Let's see if anybody's on Facebook.
No, that's, well, whatever. I have no idea where it tracks, whatever it tracks.
We got 1 comment on Facebook.
A comment?
Love the Danny Cam, David Braswell.
Oh, okay. So he probably gave you the heart.
Yeah, probably.
I thought we're up to 9. Oh, that must have been you as you went.
Andy just joined us. Yeah, if we all get on.
Hey, it could be we get to double digits.
We could.
We could break.
Masculine Journey Live.
It'd be a record.
Yeah, man.
Well, we need to get better at doing it. And Darren had a great point. I know we only got about a minute and a half till we go back on. Is we could put our clips on ahead of. We can tie them to the YouTube clips, like we,
Yeah.
or we could even Yeah, I mean, there's a way we could do it.
Put it
Just
in
more
the
work.
show notes for the link, the other
Yeah.
YouTube links.
Yeah. If there's one that's relevant to it. Then
And
that way
Robbie,
people can watch it.
You need to show me or some of the guys how to do that when you're not here too, so we can keep it going. We never.
Yeah, when you're not here, we just don't do anything with it.
It's usually kind of well. I'm like, okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, I know I have a mirror. I don't need to see
So now
myself.
with the Danny cam, we got a precedent now.
Do you leave that here most of the time?
Look, we're up to 8. Let's
Um,
watch her. Then we go.
Yeah, well, if I'm
Yeah.
like going to a boot camp or whatever, they get it kind of like, where's the computer? I'm like, well, it's not your computer, guys.
Exactly. That's you're
Um,
using that. For True Talk
But if I'm
Live.
here, it's, from
Yeah,
home.
right, bragging rights.
But Nick, the producer, Nick knows it maybe even better than I do. He does all that stuff for True Talk Live anymore. I don't. But I'd be happy to show anybody. It's pretty easy. And actually, if you wanted to load it on your,
What is it again? Give me
it's StreamYard.
the-
Welcome to Masculine Journey After Hours. We're glad you're with us today, and we are continuing to talk about the I am statements that Jesus makes, specifically in the book of John. All right, a lot of those are in chapter 10, but there are in other chapters there. And so we're talking about the I am statements, and we're continuing on that trend. And so, Danny, you actually have the first clip of this show. Would you like to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's from a show called Fire Country. It's not Andy Griffith, as you pointed out before the show.
Yeah.
And so trying to tread other waters and get grief anyway.
You're
but-
branching out.
Yeah, and set it on fire. So, but Fire Country is a family dynamic, and lots of man and his wife and his son, and they're all firefighters in Southern California, I think. And this scene is, there's always, where there's family, there's dynamics and everything. In this scene, the wife is driving a fire truck they were trying to get this compound of people out before this forest fire took over their place there. And so they ended up, they weren't going to go, but by the time they decided they were leaving, their cars had caught fire. So they had to put 13 people in a fire truck. And the road is on fire, and I chose this because of the shepherding factor of it. And what you're going to hear is her husband, who is with a guy who's flying a drone and coaching her while she's driving, pretty much blind in the smoke and the fire, this fire truck. I've got 2 firefighters on top under a fire tent, and they're riding literally through flames, and her husband is calmly shepherding her out of this predicament. And you can hear the panic, you can hear the chaos, but you can hear his calm voice. And we talk about it afterwards, but just a great clip. So. So often in life you find that your world's on fire, and that was kind of the scenario that we were looking at there in physical form. But so often we're in a panic. We're like Sharon. We're in a panic, and we want to put the pedal to the metal and get out of there. But there's that voice in our lives, the Jesus, that's telling, no, I don't need you to do that. It wouldn't be a good idea. And it took me back to several different scenarios in my life, because my life has been on fire a bunch. But what I was thinking about,
You burn all your hair off.
it did. You can tell. But what I was thinking about was, in 1994 when I got sober, coming out of addiction from cocaine and alcohol, and my life was literally on fire. But the urge to do what I wanted to do was the rescue was to rush and to put everything back like I thought it should be. And there were those voices in my life that God put in my life, mentors and family members that would say, no, you don't need to step on the gas right here. You need to, focus on a relationship with God and some spiritual stuff and solidify your life. And thank goodness for those people that did that. I had it for a long time. I don't know what happened to it. It was a little cartoon thing that I had on my refrigerator forever. And a little lady gave it to me in recovery. And she said it was a guy riding a snail. She said, I hope this is how your recovery goes. Slow and ungracious. And I thought, what a mean thing to say. But what she was saying was, if you move too fast, you're going to miss something.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to miss what you're really going to need later on. And that to me, that's Jesus being a good shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
No, we don't need to run here. We don't need to do this. We need to focus right here. And him telling us, and then he's saying, step on the gas and those kind of things. And to me, that's life, because it's real easy to sit in Sunday school class or in, your men's group or something and talk about the principles of God and talk about those things. But when your world's on fire,
Mm-hmm.
and you think you know what to do, you really, truly better listen to the voice in your ear, in your heart's ear. Not the voice of the enemy, the right voice that says, okay, I'm right here with you. I'm beside you. Let's walk through this.
It's good. It's good.
Is that the I am the fire of life statement?
Yeah, just the opposite of water.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool that in that clip, the husband of the bride is the calming voice,
Amen.
right? And that's our position, right? The husband, Jesus, we're the bride of Christ in the church. He's the calming voice.
What I had to take out in part of it was, because we keep them under 2 minutes,
Right.
was the other voice, the guy driving the drone, was talking to her originally.
Mm-hmm.
And the more he talked to her, the more frustrated she got.
Right.
And finally, her husband stepped in and he says, I'm talking to her. He said, who authorized? He said, I did. See, I'm over the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he steps in, and because he knew how to talk to her.
Yeah.
And our good shepherd knows how to talk to her.
Amen.
My sheep hear my voice.
Yeah, that a relationship based on love and trust,
Yes.
right? Which is key. When you have those things, then that can be calming to you. But the absent of that,
Oh, yeah.
there's not going to be any calmness. Yeah, that's going to be chaos, exactly. Yeah. Terry, is there anything you want to add? You want to jump in, or you just want to sit and listen for a little while?
Well, sitting and listening has been fun, but guys, I've enjoyed it. Everything. You guys have said some awesome things, and I enjoy you guys sharing some of your life experiences in this, as far as kind of making your point. That's been awesome. I mean, because the truth of every man is in his heart, and when he speaks his heart, he speaks that truth. And to hear that, you have to have that heart to hear it. God clears that passage for you. And I can see the power here, and I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be up here with you guys.
We're very glad to have you. We have a guest with us tonight, Terry Prophet, right, a local men's ministry leader.
Right.
And so he's just kind of dropping in and getting to meet some of us tonight and getting to learn about us. So we're very grateful to have you here.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Welcome anytime you want to come. We'd love to have you. Rodney, you're actually up next.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it?
No, we're gonna say,
Something else?
no, I'll wait and say something
You kind of
easy
seemed like
later.
you wanted to say
Is,
more.
is it the outlaw Josie Shepherd?
Yeah, you know,
That's right, yeah.
Oh, you know that's where my mind went.
Yeah, it's gonna be Outlaw Josie Wells at some point. I'm sure.
Shepherd.
Yeah, Shepherd Josie Wells. Yeah,
What?
Is it Forrest Shepherd?
it could have been the good, the bad, and the ugly. Could have
And
been
the shepherd.
how things
The
drifted.
good, the bad, and the shepherd?
Yeah.
Okay,
The good, the bad, the ugly is our description on Facebook.
It is, yeah, but only one of us has Danny Cam. I'm just saying.
Well, there's only one. Damn.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Gratefully is part of our group, is what I was trying to say there. It just-
Yeah. You say a lot of things.
I know I do. Anyway, you're up, Rocky.
Well, the first thing I went to is, okay, basically the I am statements in John are kind of the centerpiece of what all the John's about, which is the deity of Christ. You know, it opens up the Word was God, the Word was with God, all that, you know, John 1 just opening up. It's all about deity. And that's where I was trying to figure out where could I ever find a clip about like where Andy was at, you know, with before Abraham was I am. I was thinking more along the lines of I went to Gethsemane when they said they're looking for Jesus of Nazareth. I am, and then they all fall down and fall back. You know, that's the same thing. It's like the power of just I am right there. They all fall down, and just it's like, how do they go on and even arrest him? I don't know. You know, I'm like, wow, that's powerful. But you have just that whole ambiance of deity in all these I am statements. And I was trying to figure out where to go when I, again, came to the one I said, oh, the Good Shepherd. That's an easier one to find a clip for. So it's like, I just found that channel. It's like where a lot of us ended up for this, which was, you know, kind of brought us all together on the same stuff. But I had so many other things in my notes because I was like, oh, doing some of the other ones that we're supposed to kind of possibly cover. You kind of gave us some to use. And I just had a great time because the next thing I found myself, I'm like, wow, I'd like to listen to a few sermons on that. So I was like, went to Sermon Audio. I'm like, who would I want to? So I went to those scriptures and I'm like, well, who's somebody I can listen to? And I found Stephen J. Lawson, and he's just so awesome listening to him. And so I just got all wrapped up and listened to several sermons. So I just had a great week listening to, forget about what I'm going to talk about. I was more like, oh, wow, this is great. This is fun. You know, just kind of soaking in I am God. But one of the things that I really liked and listening to all that was going back into like Isaiah, the prophecy of the things to come in Christ. And then even Revelation, especially when you talk about the light of the world, and refers again to the light in, I think, 22 of Revelation. And it's just a beautiful picture of he's coming, he's here, and he's coming again. I just had a great time with that. So where I ended up going, I finally was trying to like, okay, with shepherding, who could be a good shepherd? And like, we've had some great clips already. And I just went to Defiance, where here they are, the Nazis have come in, they've ran them out of their homes, they're in the woods, they've lost a few people because they're having to fight for scrounge for food. And I can never remember all the names of everybody in that movie because they're hard to pronounce, but the leader, you'll hear him in here talking, but he's calming the people because he can see the desperation in them. And what you see just before this statement, really, he's desperate. He doesn't know what to do. He almost stops leading. And his brother comes running up and will start to say some stuff. And basically, his brother serves as a reminder to him, like, we can't stop fighting. We have to live on. And that's where this whole scene here, where he says that them living, just going one step further, is that act of faith. So let's go ahead and take a listen. And one of the terms that I use an awful lot at work is RAA, responsibility, accountability, and authority. And that's one of the things where the deity of Christ, he's just proclaiming the ultimate authority. I am God. I am who I am. There's no other. Do not look to anywhere else. I can fulfill all righteousness. Nobody else can. And he's saying, I have this all under control. Sovereignty of God just rules in all these I am statements. And it just gives me rest. Gives me that peace and contentment, because then I don't have to do it myself. Like we always talk about, we take off, we do things in our own flesh, and then we get smacked upside the head and get back in line. And oh yes, you're right, Lord, I need to listen to you. Why was I wanting to go in that direction? Why did I take a second look? Why did I burst out in anger? Well, it's because I was doing things on my own. And it's just great to know that, yep, we can just sit back and follow him. You know, one of the big statements, follow me. And you just, if you can do that consistently, day in and day out, and stay in the word, you find, at least I find myself at least a lot less often going astray, and going, when I go astray, don't go as far.
So I love the idea that's, I think they're called the Belinsky brothers. Is that right?
It's close.
Belsky.
The Belsky brothers, right? It could be the Blues Brothers. I'm not sure. But anyway, what they did in that movie, which was just spectacular, was they gave those people hope that had absolutely no hope. Right? And I heard this story actually from a guy with Land and Rescue that is forever going to change my idea on hope, and it just blows me away. So I want to share it. That there was this research biologist in the 50s by the name of Carl Richter who did this study on rats. And it sounds a little gross at first, but I think you'll see the picture is absolutely spectacular. That he was checking to see, how long a rat could tread water, essentially. And he would put the little rat in the little beaker of water and time it to see how long it'd be before the rat started to lose hope, essentially, and go down. And when he would take the average rat, and do that, it would take about 15 minutes, and they would lose hope, and they would begin to drop down in the water to see if they could actually survive under the water, and they'd be dead in a couple of minutes if you didn't pull them out. So then he started pulling them out when they started to sink, and then he'd dry off, give them a little 2-minute respite, give them a little pep talk.
Let's go rats.
You can do it.
You can do it, right? And he'd put them back in the water. Well, astonishingly, when the rats realized that there was a chance that they could be rescued, they went from the ability to tread water for 15 minutes, for in some cases, they would tread water for 60 hours.
Oh, wow.
Because they had hope that they might be rescued. And as I was thinking about that, I thought about, if you were in the icy waters when the Titanic went under, and there, there's people screaming and icebergs all around, you don't have a lot of hope. You're probably not going to tread water a real long time. But man, if there's a boat coming and you see, life preservers and people yelling or whatever, you're treading water. Man, I could probably go another 10 minutes. Who knows how far you would go based on what? Hope. And so to your point, Rodney, when you accept the deity of Christ, it says, I am, and just like the B brothers, were saying, we may be hunted like animals, but we're not going to live. And the way they instilled the hope in those people, and if you watch the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about, that they kept on fighting because they could see that because it's together, they had hope. And that's what Jesus gives you. And I love that, if you watch the trailer to that movie, he said, I almost lost my faith, right? Well, that's the point, right? That because of God's deity, we can keep swimming in those icy waters.
You dirty rat.
You killed my brother. Yeah.
If you're not familiar with the movie, it's Defiance is the name of the movie. We've used it at boot camp a few times, and I never would have watched it if it wasn't for boot camp. But it is an amazing movie. I love the movie. But every time we've said we're going to watch a boot camp, Robbie says we're going to watch Deliverance. It's totally a different movie, totally different outcome. Don't go watch that one. You won't be happy with the outcome there. But Defiance is a great movie, and it's based on a true story about 4 brothers in Poland, and how they saved their whole community, or communities, right? Hundreds and hundreds of people. It's a really cool story. Go watch. Well, I guess that leaves me with my clip.
You started, you might as well finish it.
Yeah, but we'll see. I actually use the Shepherd as well, mainly because I felt it was easier. No, it wasn't that. All the I am statements, the longer I walk with Jesus, I can say, yes, I'm living these more and more, and I understand it. And Rodney, to your point, I think the cool thing about the I am statements for me is Jesus says, I am everything you need. He just says it in a lot of different ways. Right? We're always looking for that next great thing when we have the greatest thing available to us all the time. Right? You know, we're a hungry people and we search for things, but the answer is always right with us. You know, and I lose sight of that. And so for me, the shepherd is important, and I'll talk about it in a minute. But there were a couple of them I didn't really understand as much what Jesus was saying, like, I am the sheep gate. You know, I didn't really understand that reference. And so I found a clip from a group called Lumo, and I'm not sure who they are, but they did this little bit where they're talking about the being the shepherd, the good shepherd, and the sheep gate. And let's listen to it, and we'll come back and talk about it. So as I was listening to that, there's a lot that kind of jumped out at me originally. One of them being, I must, over the past in my walk as a child, adulthood, and things like that, I obviously haven't known the voice of Jesus well enough because I keep chasing after the wrong voices. Right? And the answer is to understand him more and be more intimate with him and to know him more clearly, because then I can distinguish his voice from all the other things that scream at me, right? Because if it wasn't things that were attractive, we wouldn't fall for it, right? But what makes sin so compelling? It gives the appearance of being attractive, right? But it robs everything from you. That's what he talks about. It robs, it thieves, and it kills you, right? That sin does that to you, but it seems like it's so attractive, and you chase after it. And society will tell you that's the way to go, right? Is to chase after this. But then you have the still small voice of Jesus saying, no, I'm right here. You know, and I'm right here, and I will give everything you need if you just walk with me. And my challenge is I just don't know his voice as well as I need to. And I'm learning as I walk deeper and deeper with him. But I have to actively lean more into him in order to hear him more clearly. The place where Jesus has shepherded me a lot, and I've shared it on the air quite a few times, but honestly, it's how I live most of the time is, there's an old adage that we talked about on here, you know, little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems. You know, you think that when your kids, you know, are older and they become adults, that it's going to get easier for you as a parent. It doesn't. It gets harder in a lot of ways because you have less influence. You have less say-so. You have less things you can do, right? And so I'm constantly, and just with my kids, but I'm talking about other aspects of my life, I'm constantly saying, Jesus, Father, I don't know how to be a father of a child in this situation, right? A daughter that's in this situation or a son that's in this situation. Yes, I've been a father before, but they're different individuals and I don't know how to love them well or father them well. I need you to father me. I need you to shepherd me, right? And I do that more and more in my finances and other things. I just thought about here at work, I'm struggling with some stuff at work, but I can't tell you the last time, I guess since I was in a position where I had to fire somebody, the last time I invited God into one of the work situations. Because I feel like since I've done it for almost 40 years, I think I know everything. I don't. I know I don't, but I know He does. You know, and so now my next step, I just from tonight, sitting here doing the show, say, there's some situations at work, God, I need to invite you in, right? Because I need you to shepherd me, to father me through this, because I don't know how to best do it, right? It doesn't mean I'm going to be infallible. It doesn't mean that I won't make mistakes. I have a less of a chance of making a mistake when I'm walking with Him. I may mishear Him and end up in the wrong place, but He'll never give me the wrong advice, right? I just have to be obedient and follow through with it, right? A lot of times we worry about the outcome. And God taught me years and years ago, He owns the outcome. We own obedience, right? Because if they get mad, maybe God needs them mad, so they'll lean into Him. If they run away for something, maybe He needs them to run away to realize that they need to come back to Him, right? He owns the outcome. You own obedience. So walk with Him. Let Him shepherd you, and let Him be the one to own that outcome, and you just be obedient. This week, just go out and love somebody well. If you need to reach out to us, any of our names at masculinejourney.org or go to masculinejourney.org to register for any upcoming events. We'll talk with you next week.
Oh, man.
Man, we got up to 8 watchers. It's an all-time record that